transformed in an instant. How a millionaire's mockery of a delivery girl revealed an incredible. Emily darted through the crowded streets of Ohio, her worn-out sneakers slapping against the pavement with frantic urgency. Every delivery mattered. With her mother's chronic health issues looming large and her younger brother's college dreams hanging by a thread, Emily felt the weight of the world on her slender shoulders. She could see the bright lights of the opulent mansion ahead, a stark contrast to the modest home she shared with her family. As she stepped up to the grand entrance, she was unaware that this delivery would change everything. "Delivery," she called out, her voice barely piercing the thick air of privilege. That S when she met Jack. Leaning against a marble pillar with a smug grin, he glanced at her thrift store dress and scuffed shoes. "You should really consider investing in a real pair of shoes, babe. Looks like you've just escaped a garage sale." His laughter echoed like an angry bell, drowning her in anger. Emily felt her face flush. Who did he think he was? She wasn't defined by her shoes or her past. Her heart raced, a fierce determination sparking within her. This was about more than just a cruel comment. It was a challenge. In that split second, she realized she was tired of being trampled on. Tired of feeling less than others simply because of circumstances she couldn't control. After that encounter, Emily threw herself into her work. She clung to moments of hope. Mrs. Thompson, her elderly neighbor, became a guiding light in her life. With warm tea and stories of resilience, Mrs. Thompson reminded Emily that strength often blooms in adversity. "You're capable of so much more than you realize, dear," she'd say, the wisdom in her voice grounding Emily during tough nights. By day, she zoomed through town on her bike, working part-time at Joe's Diner. The clatter of plates and the chatter of regulars enveloped her in a sense of belonging. There was solace in the local diner, friendships blossoming as she shared laughter with patrons over greasy plates. She'd smile, reminding herself of the dreams she had tucked away, waiting for the right moment to revive them. But life remained relentless. One evening, Emily rushed home only to find her mother in bed, pale and trembling. The weight of hospital bills darkened their door. With her heart heavy, Emily wondered if her dreams had simply been wishful thinking. Exhausted, she sank into a chair. Overwhelmed by the burden pressing down on her, could she be the anchor her family needed when she felt adrift? Just when it felt like hope was slipping through her fingers, fate threw Jack back into her path. This time, they stood face to face in the town square during a community event. Jack, stripped of his arrogance, appeared vulnerable. In the midst of laughter and light, they clashed, igniting an endless cycle of emotions. Emily's spirit, once flickering like a candle against the wind, glowed with an indomitable flame, sparking something within Jack. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the whispers of the community rallied around Emily, supporting her and her family, the tension between them crackled like fierce lightning. Jack stood at a crossroads, a choice looming. Would he dive deeper into the privilege he'd known or step into a world where hard work and dignity meant something more profound? Amidst the shadows of uncertainty, Emily held her mother's frail hand, her heart pounding with unyielding courage. Would Jack rise to the occasion, ready to follow her down this unpredictable journey of resilience and redemption? Jack stared at Emily, the corner of his mouth twitching as he grappled with thoughts that felt foreign to him. He'd grown up draped in luxury, shielded from realities like hers. But the encounter with Emily at the mansion had stirred something within him, a crack in the polished surface of his life. In that moment, he decided to lean in closer, intrigue peaking within him. "Emily," he began, his tone softer than it had ever been. "I didn't mean what I said back there. I was just..." He hesitated, searching for sincerity. There was something genuine in her fire, a spark that made him question his own choices. "I've been a jerk. Can we start over?" Emily blinked, taken aback by the unexpected apology. The bravado she had seen before felt like a mask slipping away. Could he really change? Did people like Jack ever really change? She stepped back, confusion furrowing her brow. "Why now, Jack? After everything?" There was apprehension in her voice, the tighter grip of pain and vulnerability woven through every word. "I guess I'm tired of being the person I've been," he said, taking a cautious step toward her. The laughter around them faded, the smiles of children at play, the buzz of adults mingling, it all became muted against the weight of their conversation. "I've seen how hard you work, how much you care for your family. It's refreshing and kind of humbling." His words hovered in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. A flicker of hope ignited in Emily's chest, mixing with skepticism. She shook her head, feeling the urgency of her own fears. "You don't understand. It's not just about being humble. It's about sacrifice. It's about real struggle. You think an apology can change that?" "I know it won't fix everything," Jack replied, his voice earnest. "But maybe I can help. I really want to, you just have to let me." Emily hesitated, torn between the instinct to protect herself and the hope that Jack could be sincere. Her family needed help, desperately, but could Jack truly deliver? Could he break away from the privileges that had sheltered him, or was this conversation just another game for him? "Prove it," she challenged, her heart racing. "Not just to me, but to everyone. Help my family. Show them you're serious." Jack's eyes widened, surprise drawing his brows together. This was not what he had expected. The challenge hung between them, a dare to redefine who he was. "Okay," he said, a new sense of resolve hardening his voice. "What do you need?" She took a deep breath, weighing her next words carefully. "My mom's health, the bills are piling up. I don't have the money to manage it all. We can barely keep the lights on." Jack nodded, absorbing her desperation. Without a second thought, he pulled out his phone, eyes locked onto hers. "I'll make a few calls. We can start with the hospital. Maybe we can work something out. I don't want you to feel alone anymore." Hope began to blossom, pushing through the doubt that had a grip on her heart. "You mean that?" "For what it's worth, I do," he said. "But you have to let me in. I can't do this without you, Emily." The sincerity in his tone melted away the walls she had fortified. A part of her wanted to step away, to protect herself from potential heartache. But another part, one flickering with newfound bravado, urged her to take a risk. Could Jack be the ally she had recently dismissed? As butterflies danced in her stomach, she slowly nodded. "All right, let us see where this goes. Just know, trust isn't freely given." The air around them shifted, filled with possibilities and tentative alliances. As they stood in the heart of the vibrant town square, the laughter of the gathering crowd didn't seem so distant anymore. The connection forged wasn't just between Emily and Jack. It was a shared burden that hinted at something larger. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, a nagging doubt surfaced in Emily's mind. Could she truly trust Jack? And what if he faltered along the way? Would her faith in him, and in herself, hold strong? With Jack by her side, they turned their attention toward her family. But as they walked, shadow from Jack's past loomed behind them, watching from a distance someone who wouldn't let go of their connection quite so easily. Emily felt a mix of hope and anxiety as she walked beside Jack. The vibrant colors of the setting sun painted the sky, but her mind was clouded with uncertainty. The excitement of potential help for her family clashed with the worry gnawing at her heart. What if Jack didn't follow through? What if he was simply playing a game, and she'd be left even more exposed? "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Helping my family isn't as easy as making a phone call." "I know that," Jack replied, determination narrowing his eyes. "But I've got connections. We'll get through this together." She tried to read his expression, searching for traces of the man she had first encountered at the mansion, the arrogant millionaire who brushed everyone off, who had poked fun at her struggles. Instead, she found a flicker of sincerity. Maybe he was serious this time. It was just hard to accept. As they passed the bakery where she had worked for years, the warm aromas enveloped her, triggering a wave of memories. Smiling faces of customers, late nights scraping frosting off pans, frantic mornings before school to help out. She loved that place, even if it barely paid enough to keep her family afloat. Would that love extend to trusting someone who once seemed so far removed from her world? Jack's phone buzzed in his hand, pulling her from her thoughts. "It's Derek," he said, glancing at the screen. "My best friend. He works in finance. It might help us with the bills." "Is he willing to help?" Emily asked, trying to inject some realism into their conversation. "I'll make sure he understands how urgent this is," Jack promised. He pressed the phone to his ear, his voice slipping into a businesslike tone. "Derek, I need to talk. It's important." Emily slowed her pace, scanning the street for familiar faces as the night deepened. Children's laughter faded, replaced by the gentle hum of evening conversations. She took the moment to breathe, fight through the anxiety that tangled in her chest. But she couldn't ignore the small glimmer of hope that Joe might make a difference in her family's life. "Derek is on board," Jack said, hanging up with a confident nod. "He'll look into ways to help with your mom's medical expenses." Her heart raced at the news. "Really? Just like that?" "Yeah, he is a good guy," Jack replied, his smile widening. "I told him about the situation. He is willing to make some calls on our behalf." Emily felt the weight of her worries start to lift, if only a bit. She wanted to believe in Jack, wanted to believe they were building something new here. But as much as she leaned toward hope, doubt still lingered. She caught a flicker of movement out of the corner of her eye, and when she turned, a familiar face froze her in place. It was Megan, the cruelest girl from her high school. Megan had once laughed at Emily's worn-out sneakers and her family's struggles. Now, she stood with a group of upscale friends, wearing a look that combined shock and curiosity. "Look who it is," Megan said smugly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Didn't he expect to see you with Mr. Moneybags? What is it like being saved?" Heat rose to Emily's cheeks. Was Jack really different now? Or was this just another chance for Megan to humiliate her? "Don't let them get to you," Jack whispered, sensing her discomfort. He stepped slightly in front of Emily, narrowing his gaze at their old rival. But Emily felt torn. She didn't want Jack stepping in to defend her. Wouldn't it be better to show Megan she could stand on her own? "Actually, it is really kind of him," she said, her voice steadying, turning to confront Megan head-on. "For once, I'm making a choice for myself. Isn't that right, Jack?" Jack looked at her with a mix of surprise and admiration. A silence fell over the group, and for a brief moment, Emily felt powerful, anchoring herself in her strength. But as the moment lingered, she noticed something else, a shadow flickering in the corner of her eye, a figure shifting in the distance. Jack's expression mirrored her rising fear. Who was this person? Why did they seem so familiar? As the evening slipped deeper into night, Emily and Jack stood on the precipice of change, caught between past demons and a chance for growth. Would they be able to escape the ghosts that haunted their connection, or would the shadows from Jack's past upend their fragile alliance? Emily's heart pounded as the figure stepped closer, illuminated by the streetlights that flickered above. The haunting familiarity of the shadow made her breath hitch. Who was it? What did they want? Jack's tension flared. "Stay close," he instructed quietly, positioning himself protectively between Emily and the approaching figure. As the silhouette emerged into the light, Emily gasped. There stood Lucas, her childhood friend from the old neighborhood. Their lives had drifted apart after he moved away during middle school, but she could recognize his face from a mile away, those piercing blue eyes, the way his hair fell just over his forehead. "Emily?" Lucas asked, blinking in disbelief as he seemed to take her in. "Is that really you?" A mix of surprise and wariness washed over her. "Lucas? Wow, I didn't expect to see you here." Jack relaxed slightly but kept an eye on the group of upscale friends that still hovered around Megan, whispers spilling like secrets into the night. They didn't seem fazed, still watching as if they were at a live performance. "I just moved back," Lucas explained, glancing behind him at Megan and her clique. I saw you from across the street. Thought I'd check in. What are you doing with him? Emily opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. How could she explain? We're kind of trying to help my family out. She had never wanted to speak the words help and money in the same breath. Felt too heavy, too vulnerable, but the truth hung in the air. Lucas shifted his gaze to Jack, who remained silent, gauging the situation. I get that. It's good you're reaching out for help, he said. But you know him? Yeah, we've been talking, Emily said, her voice stronger than she felt. Jack finally spoke, his tone measured. I'm Jack, and I'm doing my best to support Emily. It's more than just charity, she's strong, and she's my friend. Lucas glanced between them, his expression unreadable, and for a moment, silence stretched like an elastic band ready to snap. Friend? Megan echoed, stepping closer, the edge of her voice tinged with disbelief. That's worth a laugh. You're really taking up with the poor girl now? Emily's defenses kicked in again. You wouldn't understand, Megan. Not everyone is a snob who looks down on others. Pride surged within her, reminding her of that powerful moment from earlier. Maybe this was her chance to set herself free from the past's mockery. Megan's friends snickered, but Lucas interrupted the laughter. Look, Megan, I think it's great that Emily's trying to make things work. We all have battles to face. Emily's heart lifted slightly. Lucas wasn't here to mock her. They held the past like a fragile thread spun between them, and she could feel him rooting for her. Are you really with him, Emily? Lucas asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Do you trust him? As she paused, the weight of the question crashing down. Trust was a fragile thing, something she had long guarded. But could she take a leap? Jack felt her hesitation and gave her an encouraging nod. We're in this together, Emily, whatever that looks like. The weight of uncertainty threatened to crush her. Yet within that darkness was a radiant point of light, a glimmer of hope to hang on to. I think I can, she finally answered, her voice steady. Good choice. Lucas smiled, nodding slowly, a bridge being built right before her eyes. I'm glad. Just don't lose yourself along the way. Emily met his eyes, gratitude swelling in her chest. For the first time tonight, she realized she wasn't alone. But just as a force of unity began to form, a sudden motion behind Jack caught her attention. The flickering shadow from earlier returned. This time more defined, another figure appeared, one that sent a chill spiraling through her. Jack's expression tightened, fear narrowing his eyes. Stay close. Emily's heart raced. Who was this? What complication loomed just beyond the ordinary? As the night continued its dark descent, the questions wrapped around their small circle. Could they stand firm against the storm that approached? And just like that, the weight of her choice lingered. Would she be able to hold on to the trust she was beginning to cultivate? Or would the fresh rift from Jack's past consume her again? Emily felt her stomach drop as the new figure stepped out fully into the light. The moment she saw the distinct tall frame and sharp features, recognition crashed over her like a wave. It was Ryan, one of the wealthiest kids from her high school, a guy who wore his arrogance like a well-fitted suit. They had never crossed paths in a significant way, but she remembered the way he smirked at anyone he deemed beneath him. Look who it is, Ryan sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. The lost little charity case found a new friend. Lucas clenched his fists at his sides. Back off, Ryan. This isn't your show. Jack stepped forward again, tense. What do you want? His protective stance radiated a fierce energy that sent a signal of intimidation toward Ryan. But the other boy merely laughed, unfazed. Just came to see who was gracing us with her presence tonight. Ryan looked Emily up and down, his scrutiny designed to belittle, and to see if poor Emily had found a way to elevate her situation. I guess I'm a little disappointed. Emily's cheeks burned, and the laughter of Megan and her friends echoed in her ears. It was like a spotlight was shone just on her insecurities. But she couldn't let him take her down. Why do you care? She shot back, her voice trembling, but firm. I'm just trying to do the best I can. Jack turned his head slightly towards her, a hint of gratitude shining in his eyes. He knew this was a defining moment for Emily, and she was taking control. "SNT that cute?" Ryan mocked, exaggerating a fake clapping motion. "Trying to get a pat on the back for being the good girl?" "Enough!" Lucas roared, stepping forward with energy that surprised even himself. "You're pathetic, Ryan. You think your privilege gives you power? It doesn't. It just makes you a joke." The shock of Lucas' outburst rippled through the small crowd of onlookers. People exchanged glances, some surprised, others intrigued. Emily felt a flicker of hope. Lucas wasn't just standing by. He was fighting for her, putting himself on the line. Ryan narrowed his eyes, anger threading through his calm facade. "You'll regret this, Lucas. You wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of me." As Ryan took a step closer, Jack instinctively shifted in front of Emily, tension radiating from him like he was ready for anything. Emily's heart hammered, and she risked a glance at Lucas. His gaze was fierce, a protective shield against the judgment hovering around them all. "I'm not backing down," she said slowly, her voice rising in confidence. "Not anymore. You can mock me, but I'm not ashamed of who I am." For the first time that night, the laughter from Megan's group was reduced to silence. Emily didn't just feel light. She felt powerful. She was reclaiming her narrative, her past, and her future. But just as that surge of courage filled her, something moved behind Ryan. A new presence, cloaked in shadow, disturbed the growing intensity of the moment. Emily's heart pounded anew, this time from an unsettling mix of dread and curiosity. "Who's that?" she whispered to Jack, her earlier confidence faltering as anxiety slipped back in. As if he had sensed the shift, Jack's demeanor hardened. "Stay close," he repeated, voice low and steady. At that moment, the figure stepped forward, revealing themselves in the harsh glow of the streetlights. Emily squinted, feeling the air thicken with tension. If Ryan was the storm, who was this strange new figure signaling a different kind of chaos? She stood on the brink of a confrontation, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead felt heavy in the air, twisting in her stomach. Would she be able to navigate this new challenge? Or would the walls she was beginning to break down come crashing back, leaving her isolated once more? The figure stepped fully into the light, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. It was a girl maybe a year or two older than her, with striking features framed by long, dark hair that shimmered under the street lamps. Her expression was unreadable, cool and composed, as if she had stepped out of a different world entirely. "Ryan," the girl said, her voice calm and steady, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Is this what you do now? Bully girls for fun? How sad." Ryan's smirk faltered, a flash of annoyance crossing his face. "I wasn't asking for your opinion, Jenny. Why don't you run off and play with your designer bags instead?" The girl, Jenny, stepped further forward, unfazed by his derision. "Because people like you are all the same. You think money makes you special, but it just makes you predictable. It's boring." Emily felt a warmth blossom in her chest. Here was someone stepping in the way Lucas had, someone unafraid to challenge the dynamics of their little circle. She tightened her grip on Jack's arm, a silent show of support as they all faced Ryan together. "Maybe you should take notes, Emily," Ryan shot back, shifting his focus off Jenny for a moment. "Learn how to stand up for yourself. Or are you just hoping to crawl back into your corner and disappear?" But Emily didn't feel small. Instead, every taunt from Ryan fueled a fire within her. "I'm not going anywhere, Ryan. I didn't come here tonight for you or your superficial company. I came to enjoy myself just like anyone else in this crowd." The stunned silence was palpable as Jack and Lucas exchanged glances of surprise. They had seen her transform in real time, from a shy girl hovered in the background to someone fierce, ready to take a stand. "Who do you think you are?" mocked Ryan once again, his bravado slipping. He jabbed a finger in Emily's direction. "I'm someone who's done with hiding," she declared, every bit of her determination resonating in her voice. "I'm done letting you or anyone else define who I should be." The whispers around them morphed into a low murmur, the crowd captivated by the scene unfolding. Jenny's lips curled into a slight smile. "That's the way, girl. Keep pushing back, And don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Emily couldn't take her eyes off Jenny. Thanks. But before she could finish her thought, the night took an unexpected turn. A loud crash echoed from down the street, jolting everyone from the tension of the moment. "Something's happening," shouted a voice from the back of the crowd. A throng of onlookers, now morphing from passive observers to anxious participants, turned to see what chaos had erupted further down the street. The flickering blue and red lights of police sirens were cutting through the darkness. Ryan's bravado faded, replaced with curiosity and a hint of fear. What is going on? Emily's heart raced. The powerful surge of adrenaline mixed with her earlier confidence. Whatever was about to happen, she suddenly felt a strange pull to be involved, to stand her ground, to not retreat. Jack squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "Whatever it is, we can face it together," he said softly. But as they turned to step toward the emerging chaos, Emily glanced back at Ryan, whose mask had slipped. A part of her wondered, was this the real Ryan? Or was he merely a product of an image he had carefully created? Just then, the figure of a police officer stepped into view at the end of the street. Her heart thumping, Emily realized that the night was still young, and she was standing at the precipice of not just a confrontation, but something far more powerful. Could this be the moment when everything changed? Every fiber in her body screamed that she would fight, not just for herself but for everyone who had ever felt lost. As the officer barked orders, Emily realized she had a choice to make. Would she engage in the chaos ahead, or retreat into the shadows? The tension hung in the air electric. Her heart pounded with a newfound determination. What would she choose? Would she risk everything once more, or would she shrink back? Her answer lingered just out of reach, but the weight of her decision felt heavier than ever. Emily took a breath, the sound of sirens blaring growing louder, echoing in her ears like a heartbeat. She wanted to throw herself into the fray, to confront whatever turmoil lay ahead. But as she stood, uncertainty clawed at her. "Come on, Jack urged, his voice steady. "We can't just stand here." With a quick nod, Emily forced herself forward, the words of Jenny echoing in her mind. "Keep pushing back." She sidestepped Ryan, who stood rooted in confusion, his bravado stripped away. He looked almost vulnerable in that moment, inked shadows under his eyes flickering with flickers of fear that whispered what lay beneath the surface. As the crowd surged forward, Emily felt an invisible thread connecting her to that girl Jenny. She didn't just stand up to Ryan. She had challenged the world they lived in. And now Emily wanted a piece of that strength for herself. "Wait," shouted another voice deep within the crowd. It was Lucas, pushing through the throng, his eyes wide. "What's going on?" "Let us see," Emily said, breaking into a light jog, her heart racing faster than her feet could catch up. The crowd thickened, excitement turning into panic. Bodies pressed against her as they clamored to see what was happening. And as she neared, Emily glimpsed shadows moving around the police cars lit starkly by their flashing lights. "What is it?" Jack asked, glancing over his shoulder at her, his expression a mix of worry and adrenaline. Before she could respond, a figure blurred past them, a boy, maybe 15 or 16, darting through the crowd like a rabbit pursued by hunters. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror as he stumbled, narrowly avoiding a police officer. Shock cascaded through Emily as she recognized him. "Isaac!" she cried, pushing forward instinctively. She babysat him a few times as a favor to her neighbor. "Emily!" He turned sharply, the relief in his voice mixed with panic. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted what?" she asked, forcing herself to calm down, even as adrenaline surged through her. "They said it'd be easy. Just grab the stuff and run. Then everything went wrong," he rambled, eyes darting nervously. "Stop. What are you talking about?" Jack interjected, pulling Emily closer. "The robbery." Isaac gestured wildly down the street. "They said it'd be a piece of cake. But I didn't mean to robbery?" Emily's stomach dropped. The chaos was stealing a different kind of energy, an electric current of danger crackling through the air. Her thoughts swirled like autumn leaves, colliding in a whirlwind of confusion. Suddenly, the officer at the front line shouted orders, directing the crowd to disperse. Emily felt the grip of panic settling in, thankful for the body close by a steady presence in the storm. "Are we safe?" Lucas whispered, eyes scanning the scene. "Safe or not, we have to help him," Emily argued, determination fueling her actions. "Whatever he got mixed up in, he needs us." Jack sighed, worry etched across his face. "You're really going to put yourself in the middle of that?" "Yes," she replied firmly, "because that's who I am now. I can't just watch someone drown while I stand on the shore." She pushed her way through the crowd, heart pounding as she felt the weight of 100 gazes on her. "Wait," Jenny's voice called from behind. "You're stronger than you know, Emily." Bolstered by unexpected encouragement, Emily forged ahead. Each step felt monumental. She recalled the girl's courage, Ryan's breakdown, and Isaac's fear. The night swelled with turbulence, but in that moment, the chaos crystallized into something sharper, hope mingling with purpose. With each heartbeat, Emily knew she was no longer the shy girl hiding in corners. The evening stretched before her, brimming with uncertainty and promise. What were the consequences of her choice? As she approached Isaac, a scream pierced the air, a sound filled with desperation and dread, reverberating down the street. Emily stopped cold, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had stepped into the chaos, and now there was no turning back. What awaited her in the unfolding mess? Resilience surged within her, but the stakes just climbed higher. Would she emerge unscathed, or would this be the night that forever changed her? Emily's heart raced as the scream echoed like a thunderclap in her ears. She locked eyes with Isaac, his face a tapestry of fear and desperation, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. She had to protect him. She couldn't let him slip away, no matter the cost. Before she could process her next move, a harsh voice from a police officer sliced through the chaos. "Everyone, clear the area. This is now a crime scene." The intensity of it all felt suffocating. The crowd was a living, breathing entity, pushing and shoving in all directions, eyes darting to catch glimpses of a situation spiraling out of control. "Emily, wait!" Jack's panic-stricken voice reached her, but she pressed on. She had made her choice, and now it was as if she were gliding on adrenaline. Eyes on Isaac, she moved closer, weaving through the mass of bodies. He was still running, but his movements were faltering. She could see him glancing back at the chaos as if hoping to find clarity amid the storm. "Isaac!" she called again, her voice stronger this time, cutting through the din around them. "Just stay with me. We'll figure this out." Isaac hesitated for a moment, but then he grasped her outstretched hand. She felt a jolt at their touch, a connection solidifying her commitment to rescue him from whatever fate had in store. "Thanks, Emily," he whispered, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "Don't thank me yet," she shot back with a wry smile, trying to mask her own fear. Jack trailed behind, ever vigilant, but she could sense that he was conflicted. He wanted to protect her, but he also knew she needed to stand her ground. As they pushed through the crowd, sirens shrieked louder, mingling with frantic shouts from officers desperately trying to maintain order. It was frantic. Adrenaline pumped through the air like electricity. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded off to the side, causing the crowd to collectively gasp. Emily turned instinctively, spotting a smashed window of a nearby shop reflected in the chaos around them. The reality of a robbery became unmistakable, the broken pane, shards glittering like tiny stars on the asphalt. "We need to get out of here," Jack urged, panic creeping into his voice. "This isn't safe." "No, we can't leave him," Emily insisted, holding tightly to Isaac's trembling hand. She couldn't waver. The heaviness of the moment pulled her in. "Listen," Isaac interjected, his voice suddenly urgent. "They'll think I'm involved. I can't go back there. It was just supposed to be easy money, but I swear I didn't want this." His words poured out like a flood, tinged with regret. Before Emily could respond, another anguished scream sliced through the night, sharper than before. A figure stumbled into the street, a woman crying out, gripping her side. Blood smeared her shirt, stark against the darkness. "Help! Somebody help!" she gasped, collapsing to the ground. Instinct kicked in and Emily's heart raced. They were standing too close to the chaos. She couldn't allow fear to paralyze her. "We have to help her," Emily shouted, her voice breaking through the panic. Isaac stared at the fallen woman, horror growing in his eyes. Jack tugged at her arm, but Emily lifted her chin defiantly. "Help her or continue running away?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear swirling inside. The stakes were high, and she could feel the tension in the air, the flickering boundary between apathy and action. Jack hesitated, torn between protecting Emily and allowing her to lead. "You're right. Let us go," he finally said. With their decision made, Emily surged forward, determination flooding her veins. Maybe this was the night she would truly transform. Maybe, just maybe, they could rewrite the narrative of chaos unfolding around them. "Stay close," she yelled at Isaac as they rushed towards the injured woman. What if they couldn't save her? As they reached the fallen figure, Emily squatted down, facing the woman's pain-stricken eyes. The thrum of the world around them faded, becoming a whispered backdrop to her resolve. "Help us on the way," Emily promised, brushing a stray lock of hair from the woman's face. But just as comforting words left her lips, she caught a glimpse beyond the officers pushing forward, the crowd's restless energy shifting, and someone emerging from the shadows with a menacing presence. Emily's breath caught, as dread bloomed in her chest. Who could they trust outside the walls of their little bubble? Were they stepping into danger, or stepping up in a moment that could change everything? The night was anything but over, and the critical choice yet lay before them. Would they rise to the occasion, or would their courage crumble under pressure? Emily felt a chill run down her spine as the figure stepped closer. He was tall, a dark silhouette against the flickering streetlights, and his eyes glinted with a predatory gleam. The air thickened with tension, shadows deepening around them like they were in a movie scene teetering on the edge of unpredictability. "Get away from her," Jack shouted, positioning himself protectively in front of Emily and the injured woman. The defiance in his voice prompted a flicker of gratitude from Emily. He was willing to put himself on the line for them. "Why should I?" The man sneered, crossing his arms. "You're not the heroes here. You're just kids playing dress-up in a grown-up world. Just go," Isaac said, his voice trembling. He stepped forward, his earlier bravado dissolving under the weight of the man's stare. "Please don't make this worse." A corner of the man's mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "Worse? Oh, it's already worse, kid. I'm just getting started." Emily's heart raced. She needed to think clearly, but panic clouded her mind. The woman on the ground groaned softly, and with each muffled sound, Emily's heart twisted with urgency. She couldn't let this man intimidate them. It was about more than just her and Jack now. It was about that woman's life. "Listen," Emily said, standing tall, her hands clenched into fists. "We're helping her. You can't stop us. You don't want to do this." The confidence in her voice surprised even her. The man hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty creeping across his face. Maybe he wasn't expecting resistance. "You think you can just play the hero and walk away from this?" He pointed at the dying light in the woman's eyes, and Emily felt her heart sink. "You think this is some kind of game?" "No," she replied, her voice steady but quiet. "It's not a game. It's a life. You can change it all right now." Jack, still fuming with protective rage, took a step toward the man, but Emily held up her hand. "Don't," she mouthed, urging him to keep his cool. She had to remember that every move counted. The man narrowed his eyes. She caught the flicker of anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "What is it to you? Because if we don't help her, who will?" Emily pressed, desperation tinging her voice, carrying a weight of truth. "This doesn't have to end badly. There's another way to handle this. You may think you're in control, but power isn't about fear, it's about choice." The man's facade wavered. Emily could see it, a crack in the armor of bravado. But before she could seize the moment, the sirens grew louder, flashing lights illuminating the chaos in a burst of red and blue. In an instant, the man shifted his eyes toward the approaching officers. His bravado returned as he backed away, blending into the shadows like a wraith. "This isn't over, kids." "Not by a long shot," he warned before disappearing completely. Emily felt a rush of relief wash over her, though it intertwined with dread. They had survived that encounter, but for how long? "Are you okay?" Isaac knelt beside the woman again, his expression softer now, his earlier panic replaced with concern. Emily quickly assessed the woman, whose breath hitched painfully. The smell of iron, a dark omen, filled the air. "Help is almost here," she said, pressing her hands around the woman's wound in a desperate attempt to stifle the bleeding. "Just hold on. We're here for you." As they waited, the world outside began to settle. The crowd's noise simmered down, police lights spinning a kaleidoscope of colors over the streets. But through it all, Emily's heart pounded with a question that wouldn't leave her. Was it all simply a bandage for a deeper wound? What if he comes back? Isaac whispered, glancing nervously toward the darkness where the man had vanished. Emily pulled him closer, striving to be the anchor amid the turmoil. "We'll be ready," she said, a newfound fire igniting in her heart. But deep down, she knew that as long as they stayed in this tangled web of chaos, there would always be another shadow lurking. What waited in the dark corners of their lives, ready to pounce when they least expected it? Just then, the ambulance siren pierced the night, a beacon of hope yet mingled with a chilling uncertainty. Would this be the moment they found safety, or had they just opened the door to greater challenges ahead? As the blaring sirens echoed off the buildings, a wave of hope surged within Emily. The piercing lights of the ambulance cut through the dim chaos, illuminating the tension in the air. The officers began to take control, pushing the curious crowd back to create space for the paramedics. Emily felt the grip of fear loosening its hold, even as the adrenaline still coursed through her veins. "Help is here," she whispered to the injured woman, still cradling her in her arms and pressing down on the wound, willing the life to push through. Her face was pale, but there was a flicker of gratitude in her eyes, and that bolstered Emily's resolve. Isaac stood beside her, teetering on the edge of panic and concern. "I'm sorry, Emily. I shouldn't have gotten involved in this. It was a stupid idea." His voice trembled as he looked around. "No," Emily said fiercely. "You need to trust yourself." She looked him straight in the eyes, a determination igniting in her heart. "That doesn't define you. We all make mistakes." As the paramedics rushed to the scene, kneeling beside the woman, Emily stood back, watching them take over. The chaos started to recede, the urgency transforming into something calmer. The glowing reflection of hope glimmered in her heart. There was strength in action, after all. Jack appeared at her side, his presence a steady flame in the aftershock of their earlier confrontation. "You were incredible back there," he said, his voice warm with admiration. "I don't think I could have handled it like you did." Emily smiled faintly, taking a moment to catch her breath. "I felt scared too, but someone had to stand up. We could back down, but in those moments, that's when you see what you're really made of." The paramedics carefully placed the woman onto a stretcher, and Jack shifted that intense gaze toward Emily, his expression layered with something deeper than mere kindness. "You've changed, you know. That girl I met months ago wouldn't have jumped into that kind of chaos. You're stronger than I think you realize." Her heart swelled with the vulnerability of his acknowledgement, the dawning understanding that she had indeed transformed. "Thank you, Jack," she started, but a sudden commotion from the edges of the crowd caught her attention. Ryan, back on the scene, darted forward, surrounded by police. Panic creased his brow, and for a moment, Emily's heart twisted with a mix of emotions. There was no denying his presence stirred something in her, fear or old scars. She couldn't tell, but she stood firm. "This isn't about you anymore, Ryan," she called out, feeling her own heart grow strong with defiance. "People have real battles to fight." The police subdued him with strong words and flashing lights, hastening him away from the encroaching questions. He turned to Emily, cornered by the weight of his recklessness, and then he vanished into the night. Jack squeezed Emily's shoulder, grounding her in the present. Let it go, he's not your problem anymore. A powerful realization struck her. She had been running from shadows too long. No more. She would face them head-on, for herself, for her family, and for the people she cared about. She wouldn't let others define who she was. As the paramedics wheeled the woman away, noise began to settle down. Friends came forth from the crowd, the familiar faces of her community. Their eyes filled with gratitude and support. It was a palpable moment of unity. Emily. The voice of Mrs. Thompson broke through the confusion. The older woman rushed to wrap her arms around Emily, her heart in every word. You're brave, my dear. You've made a difference tonight. Emily smiled wide, warmth spreading through her. I didn't do it alone. I know, Mrs. Thompson said, pulling back to look at her. You have a village behind you, never forget that. We'll lift you up. You just have to hold on to that light you found. In that moment, she realized her journey and Jack's wasn't just about the struggle, but the connections they forged. They had faced the shadows together, and together they would continue moving forward. As they emerged from the turmoil of the night, Emily felt the shift within her, a strength she had not possessed before. Nothing would stop her from embracing the future, weaving a new path for herself and her family. Let us go home, she said to Jack, feeling the fresh air on her face, refreshed with purpose. Together, Jack replied, a smile breaking over his face, full of genuine warmth and encouragement. With each step they took, Emily felt adorned in renewed hope and empowerment, a bright spark in a world that had once made her feel small. Now she was different, stronger, braver. It was her moment. This was the beginning of something beautiful. As the town began to return to normal, Emily turned to the camera and faced the audience. If you're out there feeling like the world is against you, remember that you can rise above it. You can stand tall just as I did, even when the shadows loom large. Together we can change everything. The energy in her voice was electric, sparking a connection to everyone watching. Don't forget to support this channel. You need to subscribe now so you never miss an incredible story like this. She gestured animatedly. And leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. It tells me you care, and I care about you. Comment below how you felt about this transformation and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Remember, we're all in this together. Let us uplift each other and never give up. Hit that button, she urged, her heart racing with passion. This is the moment to show your support. Let us spread the hope.